up, Internet? So today is October 24th, 2019, and this is a big deal because there are actually two games coming out tomorrow that have that are very, very exciting, and it's the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare and The Outer Worlds, and I will be talking about both of them following this. So starting off with Call of Duty, the one big powerhouse that's being released October 25th. This could be a major turning point for the Call of Duty games. This is, according to the developers, a return to form, and what they mean by that is Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2, and maybe 3 as well, depending on when they really set that benchmark. But this game is supposed to be a return to those roots, kind of more boots on the ground kind of thing, and I know that term has been thrown out there a lot, but I believe this is essentially what they mean. Like, no more of this double jump, wall running kind of stuff, just straight up shooting each other on the ground and just all the tactics that go into that. With that being said, I am actually very excited for this because the last Call of Duty did not feature any sort of single player. Now, I know that the Call of Duty games don't have any fully fleshed out single player, but I still love the single player. I think it's always worth it. And on top of that, I think this single player for Call of Duty will be very, very interesting. I think from what we have heard from just the internet and Call of Duty just talking about it, it is supposed to be a very edgy, very in-your-face kind of gameplay. It kind of goes into some dark areas. It kind of deals with some very mature, very kind of gray-ish ideas. It's not like, this isn't like, the campaign is supposed to be kind of like your black and white kind of like issue. It's not good versus evil. Apparently, the way that it has kind of been described is it really kind of blurs the lines between what is right and wrong. And I am actually very excited for this. I think it will be a very good campaign, and if they do it right, I think this could be a major turning point for the Call of Duty campaign going forward. And on top of that, of course, like the main staple of Call of Duty is the multiplayer. They will have multiplayer and the single player, so you don't have to worry about that. They do have some new tweaks in multiplayer, and I know for sure that, well, they have two new game modes. One is a 2v2 game mode where you have predetermined loadouts, and you and one other person go in and try to take out the other two people in a very small map, and just these kind of quick matches with very limited time and just kind of run and gun kind of thing. And also on top of that, kind of going in the complete opposite direction of fast-paced shooting, they have more of a, I think it's called hardcore mode, or I forget the exact name of it, but it is essentially that. It is very as realistic as they could probably make it, and what it is usually is going to be like a night. It's going to be dark outside, and you have night vision goggles and all that good stuff, but you don't have any of the usual stuff that comes along with the Call of Duty setup. You won't have a HUD, a mini-map, or anything. It is just you, your teammates, and what you have with you. So since you have the red dot sight on your gun, like if you aim down sight, the red dots will actually show up and the enemy team will be able to see it. But it is just a very hard, very much of a slower paced kind of what is it called, mode for multiplayer. So again, just some stuff that I'm excited to give a try and all that good stuff. Now, I mentioned like some things that are kind of new or being brought back, but I will say that this Call of Duty really doesn't do anything drastically new, like nothing mind-blowing new. But what they do is actually have tweaked a lot of different systems that they have in the Call of Duty game, which I feel as though will add up to a new feel to the game overall. Like, there's a lot of little tweaks, like for instance, you can reload when you're aiming down sights. You can mount different surfaces so you have more of a steady shot. You can do, I forget again the official term for it, but it's like a super sprint, and it's like faster than the regular sprint, and you are just completely vulnerable, but you are running that much faster from point to point. And they will have new visual effects, like with a smoking barrel or anything like that. So, and there's probably more, but just not enough time to cover all of them in this video. But all these little tweaks to the gameplay, to the visual style and everything, I believe will add up to something that feels completely new and completely different. But really, we'll just have to wait and see. Overall, I am very excited to finally get our hands on the new Modern Warfare game. I'm going to be doing as much as I can and uploading everything that I can. Just trying to keep you guys informed and all that good stuff. But moving away to the second powerhouse game that is being released tomorrow, it is The Outer Worlds. Now, first off, I have to get this out of the way. I might call it Space Fallout because that's what me and my fiance have deemed this game. And realistically, it might be exactly that. It may be a space version of Fallout. This game was created by Obsidian. They helped in developing Fallout New Vegas, which is one of the more popular Fallout games. So there is that to give players hope for that this will be an amazing game. So just some things about the game, just based upon everything that we've seen in terms of gameplay, in terms of like interviews, and just everything that's floating around on the internet. Here's what you kind of really need to know about the game. It is first off, it is technically not really an open world. I feel, well, it's not a true open world, but I feel as though once you get into the game, it will be a large enough space where it doesn't quite feel where the game doesn't feel linear, but it is not technically an open world game. But we'll just have to see how exactly it feels when we get our hands on it ourselves. And with all the Fallout games, or any RPG nowadays, you will have dialogue options. You can choose to kind of be more of a dick or more of a nice person, all that good stuff. And according to everything that we found on the internet, just everything that we know, your choices in dialogue will actually have an impact. Not just dialogue, but on what you actually do. Your actions will have an impact on the world. With that being said, in terms of actual impact, there are multiple endings to the game, and at the end of the game it will actually show you how your decisions and your dialogue options affected the outcome of the game as well. That by itself adds a lot of replay value to try to get those different endings, and it may be easier than you think to get all of these different endings because according to what we officially know, the campaign itself is about 15 to 40 hours. Now that is kind of a large range, and they cited that large range to just like how good of a player you are, like how quickly you go through everything, if you talk to everyone, all that kind of stuff, how many side quests you do. All of that stuff will either contribute to the amount of hours if you go through it meticulously and do everything, versus if you just kind of skim through it and all that good stuff, the campaign will take you less time. And 40 hours may sound like, even at the max, a bit short for games, especially when it comes to an RPG, and especially something that the creators of Fallout have done with just these massive games that you can play for hours and hours and on end. I personally am really kind of happy for this because like it will actually allow you to get through the game, and depending on which playthrough you hit or anything like that, you will be able to actually get all those different endings. Hopefully at least a bit quicker, as opposed to like in Fallout 4 or anything like that where you spend 60 hours and you made all these decisions and then like, oh thank god, now you got one ending and now you get to go through and do all of it all over again, which it just kind of sounds like a pain in the ass. But, so the campaign itself will take about 15 to 40 hours, as I said. And with that, you have a lot of the other standard RPG things. You'll be able to create your own character visually, which apparently visually there is not a lot of stuff that you can do. And plus, not that it matters greatly, but you won't really see your character because it's in first person all the time, and like since you're talking to people, it's not like it zooms out so you can see yourself or anything like that. there are very limited times where you actually get to see the physical appearance of your character. But the big customization actually comes from the skills and the stats that you can attribute every time you level up. So there's three main pillars: there's stealth, combat, and dialogue. So with that being said, I'm sure even with those three pillars, there's a lot of stuff that you can flesh out in terms of specific skills or anything like that. So that's where the true genius of the design that you decide to create will actually show through, as opposed to visually. It will be more in the stats that you have in the game itself. And with that being said, there are also a lot of different guns in the game itself, probably not as many as the recent Borderlands 3 with, I think what they said, 1 billion different guns. Technically, I don't think it is going to be that much, but I do understand that there will be a wide variety of guns and weapons in the game. Melee guns, shotgun, or not melee guns, melee weapons, the one or two-handed shotguns, long-range guns, explosives, just kind of the usual typical range of guns that you have in any sort of space themed RPG. And also on top of that, there are some different mechanics that you will see in there as well. You will actually have a companion that you can take along with you. I don't know if they will be as adorable as Dogmeat from, I don't know, Fallout or Fallout 4 specifically, or any of the other Fallouts that you could have a dog companion, but you never know. We might get that option. And on top of that, there are also, as I mentioned, just different systems that you can have, kind of going back to the flow of like how you build out your character. You can even like disguise yourself to try to get into different areas, and as with any RPG, how you get in is truly your own. So if you increase your dialogue, you may just be able to talk your way in, or you can just shoot your way in, or you can even use stealth to try to get into wherever you're trying to get as well. As I mentioned before, the stats and the skills that you flesh out, the better you're, like, it'll be more detail oriented to your playstyle and how you want to play the game. So I'm sure there's also a lot more, but that was just kind of the highlights that I found that I really wanted to point out for the Outer Worlds. And I'm also super excited to get my hands on this game. I will probably be putting up just as much content with Outer Worlds as I try to with Call of Duty. I'm really going to try to get both in as much as I can, but I'm actually going to be super busy this next week and this next weekend, but that is kind of besides the point. Again, I will try to get out as many videos as I can. Speaking of getting out all this content, if you want to see more of me, remember to hit that subscribe button, and also remember to ring that little bell so you know when I actually post new videos or when I stream any of these new games or anything like that. Feel free to like this video, and if you have any comments or questions, feel free to hit me up in the comment section down below. And also follow me on on most social media. I am on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, so feel free to hit me up, like, comment, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff with any questions, or just say hey or anything like that as well. With all of that being said, this is 3G Geek, signing off.